Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing related tweets, or you can subscribe to the channel. Click that notifications button and get a new notification whenever a new video is uploaded. I've just uploaded another video. Buatsi KOs Dos Santos, technical breakdown of his strengths and weaknesses. So please check that video out. I will put a link to it to pop up as like a little square at the end of this video. So please check that one out. For this particular video, I'm going to talk about two guys that have really impressed me. Lerrone Richards, I've spoken about for a very long time now. It's been over 3 years since I first mentioned Lerrone Richards, and he's continuing to pass all tests with flying colours. He's now the European champion. And Dalton Smith, and you know, a huge prospect who I'm a really big fan of. But let me just make one thing clear. I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning of that Buatsi video. My method of analysis consists in me looking for weaknesses. I'm approaching it as though either I'm fighting these guys, or I'm training someone who's fighting them, or that I'm employed by them as a performance analyst to look into their weaknesses so I can tell them what areas of error there are there for them to plug the gaps, right? So in other words, don't take it as me hating. I'm very impressed by these guys. I'm not critical. I'm going to appear to be hypercritical in some regards because I'm always looking to how do you make the perfect fighter? Okay, and that's the method of a thought process. So starting with these two guys, first and foremost, I want to start off with Dalton Smith. He's the son of Grant Smith, who I was complimenting as a terrific trainer. I did terrific training work with Sonny Edwards in his masterclass against Mitulani. Not just obviously pre-fight and getting Edwards prepared, but the corner, the instructions he gave in the corner. You know, he's out of Sheffield, and you know, we know that Sheffield is a real hub for talent when it comes to British boxing. But we tend to associate that with the Ingle Gym. Well, we're seeing another very impressive trainer who is starting to emerge, in my opinion, because he's done some great work with his son. Dalton Smith fought on the undercard, and he looked very, very good indeed. He fought Lee Appleyard on the undercard, and he, like I said, he looked very impressive. What we saw with him was a real variety to his game. He showed the ability to lead attacks when Appleyard clearly had the tactical approach of getting on the back foot and not taking too many risks. Steffi Ball in his corner was you know, saying don't open up early on, you know, weather the storm sort of thing. I guess the thought process was he's a solid puncher, Dalton. Let's try and tire him out and take him out down the stretch. That's when we'll really go to work. The fight ended in the 6th round, I believe it was. And Smith was very comfortable opening up and leading the attacks. And then when Appleyard did try to sort of develop more of an attacking approach in his own right, you saw some brilliant counterpunching. I'm so impressed with some of the stuff that he does. He can, like I said, lead or counter, and there's a lot of variation there. And every shot seems like, not every shot, but a lot of his shots seem like they're solid shots. But what I love about him is that he varies the power and the speed to set shots up. Okay, so there was one moment where Appleyard had his guard up and he was letting go of a combination, and he just touched the glove just to open up a little bit of a space to drop down to the side to then throw a hook to the body. It was lovely stuff. Early in the fight though, like I said, I'm always looking for areas, right, to sort of pounce on. Early in the fight, Dalton was throwing far too many 1-2s. So the jab would come in, followed by a power shot, and the power shot would be varied. So it could be a shot to the body, it could be a shot to the head with a loop on it or straight. So really good eye-catching stuff. But it was consistently directly after the jab. Now, if I'm in Appleyard's corner, I'm going to tell him the moment he throws that jab, rather than me say, let him work and, you know, we'll take him out down the stretch, I would have said, right, there's a pattern. So the moment he throws that jab, you know that a power shot's following up. He's not throwing a single shot and then stepping out, or feinting to, you know, throwing a throwaway single shot at this point early in the fight to get you to throw so he can counter you. He's just unloading in 1-2s. There was no third shot coming. There was no single shot coming. It was always 1-2. The moment he throws that jab, I want it to trigger a counter in you. Throw a big shot back. It will do one of two things. You'll either catch him and hurt him, or it will put him in a situation where he becomes less confident about throwing those big shots. He's now got to think, oh, is there something coming back? Whereas Appleyard's approach to just try and weather the early storm when there was such a clear pattern, look out for it. He kept throwing 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Meant that Dalton could then go to work. So that was an area that, you know, Dalton has to look at. Be less predictable early on. As the fight wore on, though, you started to see a lot more variation. He started to put 2s and 3s together. And there was one moment where Appleyard did try to throw a shot after the second shot. So he tried to counter the power shot that followed. So in that 1-2, he tried to counter the 2. And at that point, as he's pivoting out, Dalton stepped back slightly and threw a right hand over the top and caught him on his way out. And it was lovely stuff. But yeah, I would have wanted to have seen him, Appleyard, try and counter that first shot more. So Dalton's got to be careful not to give away patterns. But other than that, listen, man, it was really, really impressive stuff. There's one more thing. At times he was following Appleyard around the ring. I would have wanted to have seen him cut off the ring a little bit better. But you have to understand, I think this was his 8th fight, right? 7 knockouts after 8 fights. You're talking about a kid who's a bit of a novice. And the talent on display is huge. I mean, I'm so impressed with him. And with his dad, who has impressed me as a trainer, there with him, listen, the sky's the limit potentially for this kid. And for those of you that are long-time subscribers, you'll know that, and, you know, I guess I am blowing my own trumpet here a little bit, but you'll know that I've spotted a lot of kids who were unknown or just prospects that I told you would go to world level. Some went on to become superstars like Sergei Kovalev when nobody really knew who he was. Remember, Kovalev was an underdog against Nathan Cleverly at one point. Okay. Others were guys that went to world level without becoming superstars, but they were considered to be club fighters or you know, national at best or regional fighters even. You know, guys like Chris Algieri or William Monroe Jr. You know, guys that perhaps people were overlooking and they went to world level because what happens is you spot talent and you see, right, if he can just plug these gaps and work on these little things, the sky's the limit. Well, I see that sort of thing with Dalton Smith. Now, it's very, very early days, and there are elements that we just don't know. How does he fight if he's being backed up properly? If he's under pressure? If someone's setting a tempo? Does he stamina carry? What happens if he is in the championship rounds and he's been loading up on these shots? He seems self-aware, though. In the post-fight interview, he came out and he said, I could see that, you know, he was durable. He was taking some big shots, and he wasn't throwing much back. So clearly he was looking to take me down the stretch. So I had to take my foot off the gas a little bit. So clearly he's self-aware that he hasn't been in championship rounds and he didn't want to blow a gasket. But the fact of the matter is we don't know. How does he take body shots? There are still so many, you know, variables. If he goes down, does he panic? What if he gets a cut? So I can't sit here and tell you, yeah, this kid's definitely going to become a star. But with his father as a trainer and with the individual attributes he's got of variation, being able to lead or counter, even his jab is a stiff jab, which pumps the head back. This kid's got a lot of talent. So I've got a lot of time for him. I'm really looking forward to him, seeing him going forward, more of him going forward. And yeah, his dad as a trainer is really, really impressing me at the moment. And that obviously brings us on to Lerrone Richards. Now, with Lerrone Richards, a few years ago, 3 years ago or something like that, 3-4 years ago, 3 I think, my brother messaged me and he said to me, Chris, it's your day off. I was like, yeah, I know. He goes to me, mine too. I was like, okay, congratulations. It's like, listen, do you want to go to Brent Cross? Now, for those of you that don't know, Brent Cross is a shopping centre or a mall for our American viewers. And I was like, not really. I've been working long hours. He said, no, come on, man. Let's go down there. We'll have breakfast and then we'll watch the open workout. I was like, what open workout? Frank Warren's stable happened to be there doing an open workout in a erected ring that was there. And I was thinking, cool, this could be fun because it's a midweek. So it's a midweek day. So, you know, it's not going to be too busy. And yeah, we can get right up close. We can feel the air whiz by of the punches, so to speak. Let's go check it out. And we went down there and there were some really good names there, good talents and prospects. Daniel Dubois was there. He did an open workout. Caroline Dubois was there, very highly rated female amateur fighter who, she didn't do an open workout, but she was there. Jack Cattrall was there. Archie Sharp, Sonny Edwards, and yeah, Lerrone Richards. And you know, when you're there and you're up close like that, you realize that sometimes you have some preconceived notions that might have been inaccurate. So Daniel Dubois, for instance, wasn't as big and muscular as I thought he was looking at him on TV. He wasn't that imposing or intimidating at all. You could see what a lovely jab he had up close, though. You know, he was more fluid than people, I believe, gave him credit for. Now, that's not to say he can't also continue to work on that fluidity, and I'm sure he will under the tutelage of Shane McGuigan. But the point is, it was a preconceived notion that he was bigger and clunkier than he was. And, you know, I've seen this with a lot of heavyweights, to be honest with you. Anthony Joshua, who I've stood next to on more than one occasion and spoken to, and, you know, lovely man. He came across as a really good guy, genuinely, away from cameras before he was even that famous. He's not wide. He's quite slim and slender and athletic. You look at him and he looks muscular and you think, okay, this is a very big man. He's tall, very tall, but he's not wide. Like, I was standing next to him and I didn't feel like he was wider than me, believe it or not. He's not like a, you know, he's not a wide guy. Same with David Haye. Whereas Chisora and Dillian White, you stand next to them and they feel like they're big dudes. Like, they're big, they're wide, their backs are big. So that you see the different sorts of builds that each guy's got when you're up close. Sometimes it doesn't always translate from the TV. Well, with Lerrone Richards, what became very apparent up close and personal, as well as on TV, is his ability to maintain range. Archie Sharp as well, by the way. His balance was unbelievable. I've loved watching. He's so light on his toes. And I loved watching him in real life too. And Sonny Edwards, the same. As you all know, I'm a fan of Sonny Edwards, as I explained in the breakdown of the Mitalani performance. But Lerrone Richards, you could see that ability to maintain distance even when he was working the pads. And his trainer would then step in and he'd take... It would look like an effortless half a step back, but he's moved halfway across the ring. I mean, you just looked at him and you thought, you know what? He's going to be a nightmare to close the range against. A nightmare. And as I've watched his career develop since then, the fight against Lane, I tweeted out to say, listen, this guy's a real deal in terms of talent. I've been watching him for a while now. It's been 2 years since I'd seen the open workout at that point. And I was saying, listen, he's very, very good at maintaining range. He's going to be very, very difficult to fight. He's got great balance and distance control. And although he's not a banger, his shot selection's very good. Well, you saw yesterday another masterclass performance against De Carolis, an experienced operator at European level. Now, De Carolis looked old, to be fair, and he didn't bring about any adjustments that I would have expected of a man of his experience, okay? He could have tried to punch with Richards when he got close, tried to target that body, tried to slow him down. Instead, he sort of went into his shell. Now, the fact that he went into his shell dispels, in my opinion, this view that Lerrone Richards is feather-fisted. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a power puncher. Even on the pads, when I saw him on the pads, there was nothing there that made you think, oof, you wouldn't want to eat one of those shots, right? He did go up, I think, directly after Dubois, which might have affected my analysis of that. But generally speaking, you didn't see anything where you thought, wow, man, if he catches you with that right hand, you're in trouble. However, I've always said that a lot of guys that are not considered punchers, it seems to be that in people's minds, you're either feather-fisted or a banger, and there's nothing in between. Or that if you're not a power puncher, you're going to get found out when you go through the levels. Boxing doesn't work like that. Power is the one single attribute. And some of the biggest power punchers don't develop into top-class boxers because they become reliant on their power. Something similar happened to me growing up when, with me, although I did martial arts as a little kid. I did karate and then kickboxing and boxing until I was about 16, 17. And then I focused on football because I had this pipe dream of becoming a professional footballer, and it never happened. But one of the reasons it never happened with me is because I was very physically strong. I had a very powerful shot. And what happened is I had other things as well, like good vision, could pick out a through ball and stuff like that. But because I became so, I don't want to use the word reliant, but what's the word I'm looking for? Almost not in love with, but it became such a weapon to me, my physical strength. I'd be up against defenders that were 6'3", 6'4", and I'd move them off the ball like they were nothing. We'd come shoulder to shoulder and I'd just move them off the ball. I was physically strong. Because of that, I never developed enough technically. So you get to a point whereby, you know, I was 14, 15 years old and I was playing against adult men in the reserves, and physically I didn't feel out of place at all. So imagine when you're up against kids your own age, you don't feel like, you know, there are errors you're making that your physicality will get you out of trouble, right? And so you don't develop technically enough. And then you get to a certain age where you didn't develop enough and you weren't good enough to make it. That can happen with punchers. A puncher will be in a situation whereby he's in the ring and he's struggling to deal with somebody's jab, and he'll just let his hands go and he'll take a guy out, And he never really figured out how to deal with that jab. Now, if he's up against a guy that can take his power and his physical strength, well, now all of a sudden you better have learned how to fight and bypass that jab, right? So some people, I believe, place far too much of an emphasis on power. Sometimes it's to the detriment of a fighter's development. Well, with Lerrone Richards, he's got enough of a pop to keep guys off. And this is why post-fight he came out and he said, if I've got no power, walk through me then. It's easy to sit there and undermine, yeah, you've got no power, but no one's walking through me. And he keeps saying, I can do that to anyone in the division. Now, he can't get ahead of himself. It's still early days. He's at European level. But he's passing these tests with flying colours. Now, Bradley Skeet was a fighter who was very good at maintaining range as well. And he got to a point where he got to a higher level. And when he was in there with a real banger, he started to come up short. And so we don't know if someone's going to start ripping that body, wearing him out. If he's forced to fight in the pocket consistently, how's he going to cope? We don't know for sure. But so far, the signs are good. Because when De Carolis was having success on very rare occasions, what I liked about Lerrone Richards is that he wasn't running in the sense of, I desperately need to maintain range. Let me quickly move around the ring and look in a state of panic. He would take half a step out. He'd be comfortable inside, sometimes fighting off the shoulder, little shoulder rolls. But then he'd take half a step out and pivot to stay just inside or at the edge of the pocket and then throw back. This is something that Sonny Edwards is doing brilliantly against Mutulani. It's something that Billy Joe Saunders is brilliant at doing as well. So the point I'm making here is that you can be a boxer that likes range without being afraid to give up that range for a short period of time. And he seems comfortable. And if he is comfortable on the inside, then he's able to say, you know what, when you guys do pin me, I can handle myself, but I'm going to make it hell for you to pin me. Well, then you've got a serious problem. Because he's going to be racking up round after round after round. And if you don't slow him down and knock him out, you're losing that fight on points. And so you're going to end up developing this scenario, which we've probably already developed, whereby, you know, there's that running meme, that joke about Canelo on points. Well, Canelo on points is a running joke because of the judges. Canelo can bang out anybody, right? So it's not like you're just expecting it points because, you know, it's bound to happen. Whereas with Lerrone Richards on points is going to start to become a very, very common denominator, an outcome in fights, because this is a guy who has enough pop to keep guys off so far. And unless you knock him out, he's going to outwork you and maintain range because you simply can't get close enough to outwork him. So this is a guy that I really, really like the development of. Nice guy as well. He was interacting with everybody at the open workout. Even chatted to my brother on social media later that day. My brother I don't remember exactly what happened. My brother liked one of his photos and I think he might have recognized my brother from that day at the open workout, and he messaged him or something. So very approachable guy, clearly. And like I said, this was 2-3 years ago, but he seems to have that great personality. And you saw post-fight, he's sitting there singing Hot Cross Buns for his son, which, you know, I liked it because in the ring, you saw a slick boxer. You saw a tad of cockiness outside the ring where he's sitting there saying, people keep saying I'm not a puncher, walk through me then, and I'll do that to anyone in the division. I like that. It shows defiance. It shows he's not intimidated. And then you also see the nice guy element where he starts to sing Hot Cross Buns for his son on TV. So, you know, this is a guy that potentially could go a long way. I understand that his style is not one that's going to capture the imagination of the fans. I get that. Hardcore purist boxing fans are going to enjoy what he does, but because he's not a destructive puncher that's going to really knock people out, he's got enough on his shots to keep guys at bay, but he's not going to be a crowd pleaser in that regard. There were people that, you know, were out there comparing him to Johnny Nelson and stuff like that. Johnny Nelson wasn't considered a fan-friendly fighter either, but he had success. And he's considered one of the best, if not the best, cruiserweights of all time. So we'll see how Lerrone Richards develops. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Let me know what you thought of Dalton Smith and his father, who's really impressing me as a trainer. What you think about Lerrone Richards. What's the limit for these guys? Let me know if you're one of those guys that is bored of his style in terms of Lerrone Richards, or whether you're actually just enjoying the boxing masterclass. And let me know how far you think he can go. It's a stacked division. Would he be able to maintain this range against some of the top middleweights? I'm not talking about the pound for pound guys. Forget guys like Canelo Alvarez. But how does he cope against some of the other top level guys in the middleweight division? Is it ready? I mean, he's won a European title now, so we're going to start seeing him at world level. What do you expect to see? Thanks for watching, everyone. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.